outside. But again, please, when people are speaking, please don't interrupt. I will pause in a way that will make everyone uncomfortable, and will make sure that all of us look at you if your phone goes off. So pick up your phone and make sure that you shut it off. I'm going to do it because I'm usually the first one that screws up and it ends up going off. So that's pretty much it in terms of ground rules. There are members that are going to come in. We're going to take them out of turn because there's other hearings that are going on here in the building. We want to make sure that reps and senators have an opportunity to speak. And we have with us today my Senate co-chair, Senator John Keenan. We have Representative Cleon Turner, Representative Jason Lewis, and Representative Ruth Balzer. There most likely will be other reps and other senators that will be joining us this morning as well. So I'm going to go right into bills, and first I will call up Representative DiNatale. Welcome, Representative.
Thank you, Chairman Sanchez and Keenan, and members of the committee. I am here to speak on House 1936, an act relative to genetically engineered food. The term GMOs, genetically modified organisms, refers to crops created for human or animal consumption using the latest molecular biology techniques. These plants have been modified in the laboratory to enhance desired traits, such as increased resistance to herbicides, drought resistance, and disease resistance. According to the FDA and the United States Department of Agriculture, there are over 40 plant varieties that have completed all the federal requirements. Examples are tomatoes, cantaloupe, soybeans, sugar beets, corn, and cotton plants. GMOs were quietly introduced into our food supply in the 90s. The FDA requires no safety testing or labeling. FDA scientists have stated concerns about potential dangers. GMOs have not been proven safe. Studies have linked these foods to allergies, immune problems, infertility, and certain cancers. There are new studies released every week on the potential risk of GMOs. A lack of labeling has made it impossible to directly tie GMOs ingredients to disease. GMOs are banned or labeled in 61 countries. The state of Connecticut is now the first state to have passed GMO labeling legislation. They recognize the importance of safe and transparent food system. This is our chance to act with that same urgency. Clearly, this is a complex worldwide issue. Genetically modified foods have the potential to solve many of the world's hunger and malnutrition problems. We must proceed cautiously to avoid causing unintended harm to our health and environment. My hope is that my bill and those of my colleagues who you will hear today will serve to move this into a dialogue that will result in mutual benefit for both the consumer and agribusiness. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear from people that are much more averse to what this whole issue is about. It's a very complex issue. But it's one that I believe, as I just mentioned, we need to begin a dialogue on. And we also need to call upon the federal government to rise to the occasion and establish rules and regulations on how we enter into some kind of a balance, if there is such a thing. But right now, people's health are at risk. Their health is at risk. And until we get this problem solved, it's going to always be a problem. And we need to address that. I hope the committee will report House 1936 out favorably. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love applause too. There's a lot of people in the room. So if we can hold off on the applause, thank you. Representatives, any questions? Thank you very much for your testimony today and your leadership. Representative Ellen Story.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, and thank you for taking me out of turn. I am here to speak in favor of my GMO bill, which is House 2093, and I have a show and tell object. Pass along. a box of Skittles, which has corn products in it, so of course it is genetically engineered. And this has the labeling on it that would be the exact size if my bill passed. If the box is smaller, the labeling would be smaller as well. My bill does not take a stand on whether genetically modified foods are good or bad. My bill simply says that if we are buying genetically modified foods, we should know it. It's an informed consent bill. It says, please put labels on things that have genetically modified ingredients in them. That seems to me to be an extremely reasonable position to take. In Europe, they have labeled GMOs for at least 20 years. There's no issue there. So I hope, I have presented this bill. This is the fourth session that I have presented this bill, and it's not gone anywhere. It feels to me like the time is right now for us to take a stand on this and say, at least let us know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you. Representative Andrews, welcome.
Thank you, Chair, State Committee, and thank you for taking me out of turn. I'm here to briefly testify in support of House Bill 2093 by Representative Story. This winter, I attended in a district evening event where about 70 people came out to our local library. Spent 3 hours to talk about the seriousness of GMO and not being transparent and the potential impact that has on the health of our families and also on the industry of agriculture. After listening and doing some research, I'm in full alignment that we need to be transparent with our consumers on what they're purchasing, whether it's an individual buying for themselves, their family, or their business to make another product. We should let the consumer know exactly what they're getting. So in this bill, it requires just transparency and labeling, and then it lets the consumer decide where do they want to invest their money based on their own research about what do they believe is best for their health, their nutrition, and or the product that they're converting. So to me, a fundamental responsibility of business is transparency in the product or service they're selling. Let the consumer vote with their money. And to me, this is a strategic important bill for 3 reasons. One, the quality of life in which we enjoy in the United States and the quality of food that we get to eat. Many of us have traveled to other countries and we know the difference between one that is pure from nature and one that we've kind of thought we could improve nature. And they don't quite taste the same, and I like the original better. It's hard for some humans to believe that we really at times cannot improve nature, but we do have our limits. So 1, strategic importance is the quality of our life. 2, the health of us. Driving into work this morning, I was talking with a former colleague from Procter & Gamble who's working on why in the United States are we spending more per person with less healthy outcomes. And part of unraveling that problem, chronic problem, strategically damaging problem for the United States is the nutrition and food supply choices that we have and make in front of us. This bill would help us have more transparency and be able to choose what we take in for nutrition. So health is the second strategic importance for moving ahead on sharing with consumers what their choice is and where the GMO modification of ingredients is coming from. And the third reason is to keep our U.S. and local Massachusetts agricultural industry competitive with the world, because we do want to export and have people come and say that's some of the best, product that they've ever tasted. So I hope you will report out favorably, House 2093. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Bishop. Representative Deckham, welcome. Thank you so much. Moving on. Becky Zisser, Martha Creedon, Leo Kite. Becky Zisser, Martha Creedon, Leo Kite. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With apologies, I think I may have written down the wrong bill. I'm here to support the bills for the support of labeling of GMO foods. Can I go ahead next?
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
Okay. My name is Martha Creedon. I'm a retired librarian from Waltham. 25 years ago, when my children were young and afraid of something, I tried to teach them all I could about it. And with that knowledge, they would have a better understanding, and their fears would be lessened. Fast forward to a few months ago, when I started learning about GMOs in our food. This whole issue had barely been on my radar. But I soon discovered that the more I learned, unlike what I told my kids, the more I learned, the more confused I became. There's a startling amount of information that makes me deeply concerned about GMOs in our food. Therefore, I support legislation that labels GMOs so that I can choose what it is that I'm buying. I'm also a local food activist in Waltham, working on projects and programs that support equitable access to healthy food by people of all income levels. From that perspective, I believe that labeling is the equitable thing to do, as opposed to creating a tiered system of those who believe they can afford organic and those who cannot. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Leo Keigley. I live at 731 South Street in Waltham. I'm a retired electrical engineer. I worked for 20 years in the medical industry. The last 10 years I was a regulatory engineer. I've been appalled at what I've learned about GMO business and GMO engineering. I am in favor of the 3 bills that address this before you today, especially in the labeling. At least this allows people an opportunity to select these products out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions? Great. Thank you very much.